Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Glory Hunters podcast, now a weekly podcast. I'm here with Nick. We're going to talk about the last week in professional football. And is there any topic that you think comes off the mind right off the bat? What are people talking about, Nick?
I'm not quite sure, really. There's the little matter of Mbappé wants to leave PSG.
Could it be Mbappé? Kylian Mbappé has, for some reason, decided that he does not want to re-enlist with PSG. Really, it's not a surprise to me, considering some of the things we heard last summer about wanting to leave to Real Madrid, but now it's a reality. I guess my only question to you is, do they sell him now? Do they sell him later? How big an impact is this going to have on the team with Messi and supposedly Neymar possibly moving to either MLS, I've heard, and of course, probably a little more likely the Saudi League? How does PSG handle this?
I have no clue how they handle it, to be honest. Like, losing one or two of those is already hard enough as it is. That's crazy. But to lose all of them, including the young star that you've given all this crazy money and power to in Mbappe, is insane. But probably do want to sell this summer because his contract's up in a year's time. So you get absolutely nothing next year if he goes. And it looks like he's got his heart set on going to Real Madrid in a year's time. So it's looking unlikely that he's going to stay. So you kind of want to sell. You can understand why PSG are the ones that are saying, look, we need to sell now. But yeah, to replace them is an impossible task.
You know, I want to blame PSG themselves. Now, there was the rumor that he had oversight over transfers and that he was extremely upset when he was told he had that power with his last contract signed and they didn't go to him. And I'm not surprised that they didn't go to a 21-year-old kid to ask them what they should do with their multi-billion-dollar corporation. That doesn't surprise me at all. What surprises me is they gave him, allegedly, that power to begin with. So I really think this is sort of self-fulfilling in a lot of ways with the way PSG's handled Mbappe and Messi and Neymar coming to the end of his career. I just kind of wonder if there are we now in a position from last year of winning the Champions League where the team built to be winning for the Champions League that didn't work out to a team that probably should rebuild completely? Is that the case? Is it total rebuild time?
I mean, if you lose Kylian Mbappe, yeah, that's 100% full rebuild. That's your entire attack gone, all your stars gone. You've got to rebuild that attack from scratch, and clearly the team wasn't good enough to win the Champions League in the first place, so you're going to have to build on the squad as it is to get it to the standards you want to be able to win the Champions League. And so, yeah, I think it's a big rebuild time for PSG. If they can sell Mbappe for over 100 million, then I suppose that's a lot of money in the bank, but you're not going to get anyone near the level of Mbappe. That's crazy.
Strikes me as a generational player. Like, I think is it fair to say that the replacement for Messi and Ronaldo is Haaland and Mbappe? Is that possible? That's the next generation of the two players we're going to argue over for the next 15, 20 years. I mean, it looks reasonable to me. I was told I don't pay much attention to French football. I think it's the worst of the big five. I don't know much about PSG. What I'd like to know is, I've read in several places in order to get Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe on the same team, that they stripped a lot of their maybe role players that were really, I guess, kind of the heart of the team, and just rely on star power itself. Number one, is that the case? And does this prove that, sometimes super teams just don't work because while they're nice and shiny in the front, they don't have a good core? And is that what happened with PSG?
Yeah, I think it's not so much they were stripped of the core, but more because they were spending all of their money on getting these stars up front, they neglected the core. And so you had a couple seasons where they just didn't have any fullbacks. They were signing a new fullback every single year because they just couldn't find one that was good enough. You've had people like Thiago Motta come and go. That was quite good in the midfield and quite key, and they never really replaced him as well. So, yeah, I think it's a case of not so much stripping, but just neglecting the rest of the team. So, because they'd spent all this money on this crazy attack, and then they don't have the rest of the team to sort of catch up to that. And especially with Messi, Mbappe, Neymar, none of these guys are like defensive players because they're star attackers, and so it gives you a bit of an imbalance as well with that, where you need to build a team that's able to defensively cover them whilst they have the freedom to just go and be the star players that they are.
Assuming Mbappe leaves, which I would say in the 90th percentile it does this change the Uber Eats league? Do other teams have a chance at winning the title this year? Is Marseille in their hunt? Are they going to be able to? Is some other team, maybe they finished a third, fourth, second, third, fourth, fifth? Are they able to going to spend some money to maybe challenge for the league next year? Does this open things up for them, or is PSG just so far and away the best team in that league?
Well, it was fairly close this year. PSG didn't run away with it as it is. You had Lille as champions last year, Monaco a few years before that. So the PSG's standard of being the best team winning it every year was sort of on the rocks a little as it was, even
Strange.
with these amazing players. So I think, losing Mbappe definitely opens the door for others to capitalise on PSG being in a mess to try and get some more titles to other teams.
My final question is, where's he going? Your team was mentioned, Chelsea. I don't really see that being a possibility, but maybe I shouldn't speak on that. I didn't think Messi was going to come to MLS, quite honestly. Is this just he's working his way over to Real Madrid, which is rumored to be the team he grew up liking and the team he always wanted to play for? If you don't know where he's going to go, let me put it this way: if you don't know where he's going to go, what are the most reasonable places for Mbappe to land?
I think Real Madrid is guaranteed. Okay. I'd love him at Chelsea. It'd be cool to see him maybe in England or somewhere else.
Be awesome.
But it feels like Real Madrid is guaranteed. Yeah,
it's guaranteed. All right. Well, I actually we had a plan to go. We probably should. I realize I don't live far from the stadium in Paris. It's not a unreasonable day trip. So I guess we're canceling it, because if Mbappe, Messi, and Neymar, there ain't no reason to go to Paris. So that's where we're gonna leave that. Probably shouldn't be too much of a surprise, but Leo Messi claims he will not play at the 2026 World Cup. I guess that's the retirement from international football. It's completely reasonable. There's not much more to accomplish. The one thing that separated him from Ronaldo is now no longer a talking point. This is not a huge deal, I imagine, but anything that Messi does tend to be a huge deal. What do you think?
Yeah, it feels like it makes sense at his age. He's still got the 2024 World Cup in the Americas next year, as he's now moved there as like a bit of an ambassador for the league there. So we'll still see him in one more World Cup. Maybe he gets to that second World Cup and really finishes the Ronaldo debates. But yeah, him retiring for the 2026 World Cup seems completely makes sense. He'd probably be like...
We're already starting to see some Europeans, football personalities that live in America that are kind of warning the Americans is Messi's not going on your talk shows. Messi's not. He's going to show up. He's going to play football. His English isn't so hot, and he doesn't really speak much. I mean, if you heard the same rumors I have, he just doesn't talk. He's not a talkative person. Is this a? Should he play to promote the league? If he's not going to play, like, what exactly is he going to do to promote MLS? Or we just have to be happy we have him?
I think it's a case of you'd be happy to have him, because to have a player of Messi's level to come into the MLS is unprecedented. We've never seen anything like even near to like a player of his level at this point of his career.
Yeah, most guys are washed up by the time they get to MLS. The closest guy would be Thierry Henry, and he was definitely on a decline at that point in his career. But yeah, go ahead.
But like I say, you've got the World Cup in the Americas, which he'll be at. So that's quite a big thing. So you'll already have some play in MLS to try and build up some hype, and then you've got the World Cup coming over there. So that might be like a good concoction that can really boost football in America. If you've got Messi playing, builds a bit of hype, and then the World Cup comes right after Messi comes, it could bring a lot of new fans. So I think even if he doesn't do the talk shows as much, because he's not the biggest like public personality in like going out and speaking to the media and stuff like that. I think just the fact you'll have this amazing player in Messi playing in the league at the same sort of time you've got a World Cup coming over there, I think it's going to do wonders anyway.
So I'm being a selfish American. I want it all, and I want him to talk, and I want him to have a great personality, and I'm just going to have to deal with the fact that we have the greatest player of all time that still can perform at a greatest player of all time status, which we never got before in Pele, Beckham, or Thierry Henry. So, all right, I'll shut up, and I will just be happy. Brandon Rodgers may be coming back to Glasgow Celtic. This is something that was mentioned by Glory Hunter Greenman, that he would be, strangely enough, accepting of this because this guy literally went out the back door in the middle of the night and, left a note. But his winning prowess is definitely something that Celtic would want to keep going in lieu of their coach leaving. Is this the right move for Celtic? I don't particularly have a problem with it, but I'm not like a crazy Celtic fan either. Is this the right guy, or is this gonna be? I don't know. It's just that the wounds are too sore for the last time Brendan Rodgers left.
I can't speak too much about how deep the wounds are from when he left, as I have no, I'm not a Celtic fan. I don't really care about any of that, so I can't speak for that aspect. But I think as far as is he a good appointment, I think this is as good as Celtic are going to get. You're losing a great manager in Ange Postecoglou, and last time Brendan Rodgers was here, he won the league invincible. He won the domestic treble with with Celtic, sorry. So he did a very, very good job last time. And yeah, I think as far as managers go, this is as good as you can hope for as a Celtic fan, because he's still a fairly good coach. And so for the Scottish level, a good appointment.
Does Celtic have any chance of getting to Olympic?
Maybe.
Come on, you're the expert here. You got to give me something hard so we can hold it. So we can hold you to it. Well, I hope so.
I'm going to say no. Yeah. I don't think so.
I enjoy the Old Firm derby. I do find it. I still find it fun. I know it's like the Scottish League's in tatters for a lot, but I still enjoy those games. I still enjoy the rivalry, and I want the best for Celtic. But it does seem like what an American halfway fan would be okay with. I don't know if the Celtic hardcore would accept. So I really do wonder if it's definitely going to be interesting to see how the fans react. Jude Bellingham. He's on his way. They haven't announced it yet, but he appears to be on the roster on Real Madrid. Jude Bellingham. Real Madrid, probably the biggest free agent of the summer, with the possible exception of Messi. But this is the one they were really talking about. How big a deal is this as far as how it can affect Real Madrid next season?
I think it's a big deal. He's evidently shown that he's one of the most talented young players in the world at the moment. He's very highly rated across Europe. Lots of teams wanted him. So to be the team that secures him is impressive as a starting point. I mean, it's Real Madrid. They always do this. But yeah, I think it's very good. And I think it's quite scary to look at Real Madrid's team at the moment, because they've got a very, very good young core of players coming through now with Rodrigo and Vinicius on the wings. They're quite young, talented wingers. You've got a very good midfield core now with Bellingham, Valverde, Camavinga and Tchouaméni, who are all very good young midfielders. Maybe got Mbappé on the way now, so that's your future number 9 sorted if they do get Mbappé. They've signed a new left-back very recently who played in the Spanish League last year, Fran Garcia, who's quite high potential. So Bellingham comes into a very young Real Madrid side with still some very talented veterans in there who are going to be passing on the torch to people like Bellingham. So I think it's a very good move for Real Madrid and a very good move for Bellingham. And Real Madrid are going to look scary in 2-3 years when these players are reaching their primes. It's going to be very good.
Is Modric coming back for another season with Real Madrid? Have you heard?
I believe he signed another year.
Good.
So I think or a year or two. So yeah, they'll have a year or two of Modric, a year or two of Kroos,
and he'll get that experience
sort of
with
mentor Bellingham.
Yeah, it's really nice because Modric's birthday was last week. He turned 67. Happy birthday, Modric! And I think having a veteran like that's had upwards of 40 years experience on the field, I think that will play out for Bellingham perfectly. What if you are a Dortmund BVB fan. Like, what's the point of being a fan when every year you have the highest level free agent? If you could have kept Haaland, if you could have kept Bellingham, if you could kept these guys, like, I mean, you wouldn't be, having, Leipzig hand you the league to win and still blow it. Maybe you could actually close the deal and really, although I like the lower levels of the Bundesliga, like Bundesliga 1, 2, and 3, making the first Bundesliga just so boring. 11 years is too long. And when I was wearing my Thomas Müller jersey, I was told that walking the streets of Wiesbaden. The Germans are sick of this shit too. Why is it? It almost seems criminal that they make these world-class players, guys that are going to have a huge impact, and they just will not keep them. Like, what kind of team is that to root for? I mean, I would never root for this team if they just kept selling all the great players. What's in it for Dortmund?
Yeah, I would never wish being a Dortmund fan on anyone, to be honest. Like, it's maddening. It seems like the ownership cares just too much about the business model of bringing in these players for cheap, selling them for huge fees, and less so about winning the league, I think. Yeah, it must be terrible. Like, it's the hope that kills as well, because you obviously have these really talented players each year, so you're always going to come close to winning the league, and then they're gone, and you have to rebuild. And yeah, it must be maddening to be a Dortmund
This is
fan.
where a franchise system, I think, is much better. If you were to do this in Major League Baseball, hockey, or in the NBA, and just do something like, they'd take the team away from you, and they can't do that here, unfortunately. I mean, if you don't commit to winning, I mean, there should be some kind of penalty, and it's clear that Dortmund has not committed to winning. I mean, I would much rather be a second, third regional league fan in Germany. You're going to get a lot more fun than you are, rooting for Bayern where it's guaranteed, or rooting for them that's going to blow it and sell all their players when they're done blowing it. It's really just a sad state of German football at the top levels. This is interesting because I know more about this man's politics. Of course, when I was in Iraq, he was the president of Italy, Silvio Berlusconi, and I didn't know that until you kind of educated me, that he had so much impact on football, being the owner, or at least the major stakeholder in AC Milan from 1986 to about 2017. And I guess he had to give up control of the team in 2011 or 12 because of near constant corruption charges. This man lived in court. He was Trump before Trump. Yeah, but still, I mean, the impact he had at football, regardless of how you feel about his politics, is more than felt. Old fat Ronaldo, giving him a tribute on the way out. I mean, this guy was awesome. He was loved and hated at the same time. How do you think football will remember Silvio Berlusconi?
As far as football goes, he'll be remembered as quite a mad owner, but a very good owner. AC Milan only had 2 league titles when he bought the team in '86, and since then they went on to become one of the most successful sides in Italian history.
Europe.
Sorry?
In Europe, I would have to say they're a top team in Europe as well for the last, 86 is almost 40 years ago. I mean, they're one of the big teams in Europe. I mean, they're they're iconic, I would say. But go ahead.
Yeah, like they've had so many iconic players over the years. If you can think back to any, like your favourite player from old Milan teams or your favourite old Milan team, that would have been under Berlusconi. He found people like Arrigo Sacchi and Fabio Capello from relative obscurity to go on to be some of the best Italian coaches of all time. They were found by Berlusconi. You have some of the greatest players ever, from Gullit, Van Basten to Baresi, Maldini, all of these iconic, amazing players, Kaká, Rui Costa, all of these great memories that a lot of Italian football fans and just anyone really that remembers old Milan sides will have fond memories of these players and how amazing they were. And it was all made possible because of Berlusconi. So as far as his football side goes, I think he'll be quite fondly remembered. And he has some funny stories, like with his most recent team at Monza, he promised them a busload of whores if they beat any of the top sides, which is quite funny. So now, yeah, he's a bit of a madman, but
I like the guy too.
Influence.
We do have to put a little negativity. He was, like I said, he was constantly in court. I don't trust Western governments anymore. I don't know if he ever did anything illegal. From what I can see, he avoided taxes, and that makes him like, I'm American. Like, my country was founded on not wanting to pay your people taxes, right? So I'm okay with that. But he also, speaking of whores, he got in trouble for having a relationship with a 17-year-old hooker that's underage and very much illegal all throughout Europe. And I think the only reason he got caught, from the way I understand the story, is she got caught stealing, and he tried to get her bailed out. So look, the guy is not a good guy. I mean, definitely an anti-hero. He was not 100% a great guy, but his impact on football will be remembered. And I don't know. It's that's you shouldn't be sleeping with 17-year-old hookers. I think that goes against your character, but I mean, I don't think there's anything you can take away from the guy's football prowess, and I think he'll be remembered fondly, but it won't be spoken out loud. I don't know what you know about the Man United takeover. Is the deal closed? Sheikh Jassim? Is that correct? Have we finally gotten rid of the Glazers with their terrible decade plus of American ownership? I'm sure United fans are. I think they'd probably like you to own it more than more than the Glazers at this point. What are you hearing?
Well, there's a lot of talk that it's done. It's still a little murky. We don't know exactly whether this is true, but there are a lot of reports coming out saying the final bid's been accepted. It's going to happen, which is, huge. They've been having riots and protests for a couple of years now to get rid of the Glazers. They really hate the Glazers. So, I think United fans are going to be jubilant across the country and the world, really, like hearing the news the Glazers are gone. And they're getting a mega money shake at the same time. That's very exciting for United fans.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see United back up to at least playing at the area that they were all used to them playing at the top of the table, rather than just getting, conference and Champions League stuff. So, probably wouldn't be good for Arsenal, because I think that season's looking like a fluke. But get United up there. I'm looking forward to United Chelsea and United Liverpool games in the future. I guess my only comment on it was I think what you guys got a taste of is what the bad American sports ownership can be. There are owners in the United States that'll buy a Chicago Blackhawks, that will buy a Major League Baseball team and just live off the shirt, and because they really don't care if they're competitive. Kind of what we were talking about earlier before with Dortmund. They have this like business model, and your business model doesn't have to be, producing great world-class, legendary players. Your business model can say, what kind of shirt can we put out? How much? Because like United could get relegated, they're still going to sell a ton of shirts. And I think I really wonder if UEFA should, if they can, or maybe some of these leagues, you have to make an attempt to be competitive. I think there's got to be something considered, because, I mean, at the top level, from what I can see, my perspective, top flight football outside the Premier League is getting a little stale on the rest of Europe. It's definitely stale in France. It's definitely getting stale in Germany. The Italian league's got some more movement. That's great. But I mean, as well, also a lot of the Italian teams like the Milans have financial problems. Is there any kind of rule that you could put in to say, be competitive and not just hope some prince of far off land buys your team a la Newcastle and then, okay, you're competitive? Can anything be done that you know of, or is it just an American not understanding how things work?
I don't know, honestly. I don't know what rule you could come in to do that. Maybe you put like a committee that assesses how good a team's doing and assesses whether they think the team is actually trying to win or the ownership is screwing the fans and the club. I don't know. It's a very tough question.
Yeah. And there's laws from each country in the European Union that will probably have to be looked into. So it's probably definitely above my pay grade. But I don't think it's where my ignorance comes in. I don't think that it's foolish to say that each team should be as competitive as humanly possible. Obviously, not every team, like mine's no fun is not going to vie for Champions League final. That's fair, but I expect Mainz 05 to put the best team they can possibly afford out there to be as competitive as humanly possible. And if they're just looking to sell jerseys, I think the team should be taken away from them. That's we've seen stuff like that. Florida Marlins in the United States after they won a championships and sold every player. And the team was immediately removed from that ownership in the late 90s. So I'd like to see stuff like that. So can you imagine like what kind of team Dortmund would have? Can you imagine all the championships or great games we probably missed because United wasn't competitive because they didn't have owners that were competent or cared? Because that's what it seems like. If you don't care, then that's the worst thing that can happen to you is your owners just don't care. And it seems like the Arabs do care, And if you don't start caring, they're just going to buy up all our players and send them to Saudi Arabia. The way things are going. Last but not least, we can't go without talking about this. Of course, Man City won the Champions League. There he is. There's Mr. Haaland. Look at them all. Oh, there's De Bruyne. He's drunk. Clearly, he's very, very drunk, Kevin De Bruyne. Probably because his leg hurts from his hamstring pull. Hey, do you know anything about that? Is he going to be out for a long period of time, De Bruyne, with that injury? Have you heard anything? Because I haven't.
I haven't heard anything. No, everything coming out of that is just about the players celebrating and getting drunk. So
everything. Well, it's well deserved, of course. Manchester just didn't win the Champions League; they won the treble. And it did not. We're not talking a Celtic treble. We're talking a treble. This is
a real treble.
A real treble. Yeah. I mean, this is an amazing team. They were really fun to watch this year. They even overcame adversity because they kind of slowed down towards the end of the World Cup and didn't really, when the World Cup was over, they didn't really pick up. But they chased down. They won the league. They chased Arsenal down and won the league. It really was amazing. Like watching them. I felt a little bad for Inter, but I really didn't think they ever had the firepower to begin with to compete with them. I think they did a lot better than we all thought. I never felt like AC Milan, that Man City ran them off the field. I thought it was a competitive game, a lot more enjoyable and less divey and time wasting like the other two finals we saw. Team of the future. No, isn't this the new Man United? Is it Man City?
Yeah, they look unstoppable. The only thing that seems to be that is going to end this is Pep Guardiola leaves and then they mess up replacing him and it all goes to crap. As long as Pep Guardiola's there and they've got players like Haaland coming in, how do you stop this? They're unbelievable.
If Pep wins a couple of seasons in a row, will he leave to challenge himself and go to a smaller team, and then try to build them up? Is that his style, or does he have to always be? Because, he is the last manager at Bayern Munich to actually finish his contract. Could you see Pep saying, all right, you can, I want a new save, I want to start a new save at Football Manager. I want to do something that really challenges me because, they're winning so much. Because I could see them doing this back-to-back, or maybe not the treble back-to-back, but I could see them winning the league and winning the Champions League next year. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. This is going to be everybody's favorite FIFA team for the next 10 years, I think. Am I out of my mind?
Yeah, I think so. They're crazy good. There is some rumblings that Pep might not re-sign a new contract with City, which would mean he leaves. Whether he goes to a small team, I don't know. Maybe he wants to go to Italy next because he hasn't managed there. It's hard to tell because we've only seen him at Barcelona, Bayern Munich, and City so far. So, yeah, we have no clue whether he's thinking of going to a small team or just wants to go and dominate another country like he dominated here and Spain.
Do you think he might want to go after, greatest manager of all time, generally considered to be Sir Alex? Has he surpassed that already, or is he's definitely on level? Correct? Is he that? Is he a glory hunter? Does he want that reputation, or does he not care? What motivates Pep that you know of?
I have no clue what motivates Pep. That man is. You will never get a true word out of a man's mouth. He's just sarcasm embodied. You have no clue what he actually means. But as far as him versus Sir Alex, he's better.
This is an Englishman. Oh, that's because you're a Chelsea fan. Let's just be honest.
It's not. It's
Yes, it
honestly,
is.
I think he's, as a tactical mind, he's the best. Like, leagues better than anyone else. He's something else as far as tactics go.
I wonder what David Beckham would say. I wonder what Roy Keane would say. Oh, actually, I think Roy Keane would agree with you. That's all we got for today. We're going to be doing a watch along Friday night. It's I know it's 4 a.m. my time, but you're going to have to go check the time yourself. I think it's 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Big derby, United States versus Mexico, a semifinal for the League of Nations. I know that's not really big in Europe, but it's definitely huge for CONCACAF, for American fans. Me and Biscuit Bastard, Glory Hunter Biscuit, we'll be covering that game 100% for sure. Just kind of hang out with us. And I've also decided, we got a request last week, and me and you got in a little tiff during the last thing. I don't know whether we should call it, or try to call it, somewhat like a radio broadcast, or should we just watch along like everybody else does? Because me and you got a little confusion. Like, what should we do? Like, Rosie said to us, I want to hear what's going on because I'm not going to be able to watch the game, so I feel obligated. But that's not what an internet watch along is. The internet watch along is provided that you have the game in front of you. What should we do? Like, how do we go over this, Nick?
I don't know. It's a tough one. I think it's something we need to talk about as a whole group, I think.
Yeah, I think it is. Well, I also like to hear some feedback too. Maybe we should just like explain what we just saw and like one or two plays, and then just enjoy the game that way. I want to do this one. I want to do this right. I want any suggestions from people out there. And then, what we might do is I just might be lazy and just watch the game. And if you don't like it, fine. I don't care. But make sure you join our Discord and all that other good stuff, because you can watch the game. Don't tell anybody. And of course, if you're away, you can listen to our watch along or time your phone with the TV, and you can listen to us instead of some lifeless broadcaster, as they say. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. From me and Nick, I hope you have a great weekend. Qualifiers coming up for probably your country. So keep an eye out, and we'll see you next week. Bye.